Let's stick on the. Oh, it's not really a positive. Let's stay out west. We talked about the Lakers in our first segment. Let's talk
Yep.
about the Golden State Warriors in our second segment. Steph Curry obviously going down in the third quarter of that game last night. They said it's not too big of a deal. He's going to be reevaluated on Friday. D'Anthony
Yep.
Melton re-injured his back. He's out for at least 2 games. The Warriors, man, they're not off to a great start. They have not looked great at any time. We both had them out of the playoffs, I believe. I did at least. We both had them out of the playoffs. They're a talking point because some people thought they would be better. Steve Kerr said this is the deepest roster he's ever coached. I guess, like, what are your overall thoughts on the Warriors? And, like, is there any way to fix this from what you see right
Yeah,
now?
I mean, there's positives. Like Buddy Hield looks like he's the right fit for their play style. I think. I'm not saying he's a
Okay.
great player. I think
Okay.
that this is the best way to use Buddy Hield at this point in his career. I think that they nailed on that pickup. I think Wiggins obviously had a really great game against the Clippers as well. Offensively, this was probably the most together we've seen him be in a long time. So excited for Wiggins, and I'm excited for Buddy Hield on that roster. Outside of those two guys, no, I think Draymond Green being a dirty player and dragging down Zubats in the paint on a charge was a BS call. And the fact that he got away with that with no repercussions at all is just ridiculous to me. But I just think that the expectations for the team with Steph, I mean, that wasn't even like a freak accident. He just kind of like came off of somebody and he was trying to create space and it was off ball completely. It was just put down the foot and it wiggled left.
He
And
did
was
the
just
yeah.
down.
He did the same thing Paul George did. Like, they both tried to take a step back and plan. His went sideways. Paul George went inwards. Like, it's just a freak. It's just, and luckily it's not a bad sprain or anything like that because we know Curry's had ankle issues in the past.
But that's enough. The fact that that's all it takes. And he's just like, all right, well, that's this game. He would just walk straight up the tunnel. It was like, we're not even stopping.
He
play.
tried. No, he tried. No, he tried to stay on the bench. No, he did. I was watching the game. He stayed on the bench and they worked on him a little bit, and then he was just like,
yeah,
there's no shot. It's a shame. I shout out Andrew Wiggins because he's been shooting crazy so far to start the season. The one guy that I wanted to target, and TJD also has looked good. I know you got to like pick out small positives from teams like this, but Pods, man.
You know, there's a lot of opportunity for him right now. He's got a couple game window to really be the guy with Steph out of the game. So that's.
But there's no evidence that's told me that he's going to take it. You know what I mean? And we could be eating our words in a week, but I don't know.
No, well, you'd be eating your words. I'm not writing him off just yet. I think the fact that they looked so highly upon him in the offseason and were supposedly declining, big deal trades with like Lowry Markkanen and potentially other players because of his involvement. I don't think he's a bad player. I do think that there's definitely limitations when you can't hit the side of the backboard from 3 to start the season. But I think, again, last year he shot well. Last year he was making just under 40% from 3. So, like, I don't think it's going to be like all of a sudden he forgot how to shoot and he's a Sar Thompson. I think it's truly just he's had a rough start to the year. He's got to adjust, and now he's going to be asked to do more with Steph out. So I am hopeful he is going to rise to the challenge, and this is honestly going to be like one of those chances where, like, almost like Giddey has in Chicago, where it's like, hey, you can stuff the stat sheet right now. There's nobody going to stop you as far as opportunities. So if there's ever a chance for you to prove that you're more than just like a role guy on this team, it's now. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he does in the next 2 weeks. That's, I think, is going to be the most like biggest determining factor for him. But yeah, Melton out, Steph out. Like, it's him, Draymond. We'll see if Draymond plays. Let's be honest.
Yeah, this might be the Draymond rest couple games because Steph's not playing.
Yup.
He loves that.
So we're going to watch Moses Moody and, probably some Lindy Waters minutes. It's going to be real good times if you're a Golden State Warrior fan this season.
So it's kind of an interesting topic to talk about with us too, because neither of us two were high on them anyways.
But Ricky was.
Which is I'm a little bit salty that obviously he had to work, but I just don't know where the production, because Steph has not been great either to start the season. Like, I know it's Steph is Steph, so Steph will figure it out. Yeah, Steph is Steph, so he'll figure it out. But like, I don't know. I just cannot see the upside. Looney looks a little bit better than he did in the second half of last year so far. But again, it's early,
Yeah.
so let's see when his body gets some wear and tear, starts to break down a little bit. I think Buddy Hield's going to go through his same cycle that he always does. Like he's a flamethrower for the first couple games, and then he'll start to deteriorate a little bit. You'll really see that, I think, in these games without Steph, depending on how long he misses. Obviously, Buddy always has that X factor that if he catches fire, then he can go crazy. But the problem with Buddy is what do you do with him when he's not on fire and he's not making his shots? Because he doesn't really offer much outside of that. Pods is the one though, man. Like if they truly turn down these trades in the offseason and they truly believe in him to be a cornerstone, I'm not saying he's got to come out and win them games and do all that.
No, you must.
I just want to say you got my saying now. I just want to see flashes, right? Because he's still so young. I still want to see flashes because in my mind, this team is either next season they're retooling one more time around Steph, or I'm looking to the future after Steph, which is like a very pushy subject for Warrior fans and all that. But like eventually you have to start thinking about it, right? Eventually you have to start thinking about what is the franchise going to look like if Steph's not around. And right now it's bleak. Right now it's super bleak. So I don't know if Moses Moody got his extension. Kuminga did not get his extension. Kuminga has not looked good so far. I'll take a little pat on the back there.
It's 3 games. We don't need victory laps for 3 games.
I do all of the games outside of like that 10 to 15 game window that you love to quote so much.
The end of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything outside of that, it showed me who Kuminga is. I mean, maybe he could be better, but like the Clippers were literally just leaving him wide open. Like the Clippers were like have that shot. So I don't know. I'm worried about the Warriors simply for the fact of an NBA standpoint. Like you want them in the playoffs and you want them competing, but that West is so deep, and the Clippers are who I thought they were going to be. I just don't see a spot for the Warriors.
I think this gives me mad like Kobe Bryant playing with D'Lo vibes, like that season. That's this team right now to me. I think it's over. I think the window's closed shut and then some. Put the latches on. Like it's. Yeah, might as well just figure out. You already said Draymond to the Lakers. I wouldn't say no. I'm already thinking down the line of like, cool. We'll let Steph be Steph. If he wants to stay here, like he's deserved it. He gets all the money in the world. He can play however long he wants to in this on this team. But yeah, I'm already looking for pieces because there's no way this team can compete for a championship today. So I'm looking at like, okay, how can we maximize the role players? Like. I am kind of curious about a lineup with like Pods, Moody, Kuminga, and Wiggins. Like those 4 together are interesting. And then TJD at the 5. I don't think that's a bad team, but that's probably like a 26 win team.
Yeah,
you know?
I was gonna say
like they're not like the 1917 wins that we're gonna see from the Wizards probably this year, but they're not that much better. And the problem is the bench doesn't get better for you. So like. This is a team that needs to dig deep as far as looking at flipping assets while there's still some value left on them. If they can get a good run out of Wiggins, like teams would want Andrew Wiggins, who cares about basketball again. If he's passed everything off the court in his life, and I know that was a lot for him, then you get a really great player and at a decent value right now for a contract. So like I think that he's someone who you should probably look by midseason as like, look, if Golden State's not a game above 500, you should be selling. You should be selling quick.
Do you think any of the young guys are, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think any of them are like bona fide part of this future? Or do you think they all, because I think a lot of them, like, I'm not saying that they're bad players. Because the big 3 you look at are Kuminga, Moody, and Pods. Those are kind of the 3 guys that you're looking at. I'm not saying, I think Moody's fine. I just don't know what his upside is. I think Paz is fine. I don't know what his upside is, and I don't know if Kuminga's good. Like Kuminga's the one who should be better than he is. Like the idea of Jonathan Kuminga is an athletic wing who can play some small ball 4, can shoot, can rebound, can run the floor, and
he's super athletic.
Yeah, can create constant rim pressure. But the problem is there's just no consistency to his game. So I don't know.
And why is that lack of consistency? What's the common theme with consistency in his play over the last couple of years? Maybe the fact that his coach doesn't like him? Is maybe the fact that his coach rips him out of games instantly for mistakes that other guys would probably get to play through? Might just be the fact that when Steve Kerr is done and Steph Curry is done, we'll see the best out of Jonathan Kuminga. I'm not saying that's like a bad choice that they made. They
Okay.
they won a championship, clearly.
Yeah.
They had one priority, they got that, they won their championship a couple of years ago. Good for them. But also, I don't think Kuminga playing under Steve Kerr is the best version of Kuminga that he can be. I think that's the thing in my mind. I watched him play in G League. I watched him have like spark moments where it's like, yeah, he can absolutely go off, and the pressure he goes at the rim with is like reminiscent of like basically a smaller version of Giannis sometimes. But the problem is he gets one touch, two touches like that a game tops, whereas other guys will get more, run across the board. And for a guy who is in a contract defining year for him, like, how have you not had time to figure out, like, carve out a role for him? That's what blows my mind. So,
But
like,
also, like,
I just think his front office doesn't want him. And
yeah, I think that.
yeah.
Listen, I think, and this is going to be I'm sure the Warriors fans have heard this all time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
But we know when the window got messed up was when they took James Wiseman. When you take James Wiseman and you don't take LaMelo Ball, and I understand LaMelo Ball has had his injury issues, but if you watch LaMelo Ball in the first couple games this season, you still see that he's an all-star level player every single game if he's healthy, and that's where the window messed up for me. I mean, I think that Kuminga, it's kind of the same thing I'm going through with one of my players we'll talk about later, but Kuminga might just not be good enough right now. And I think Steve Kerr, a lot of the other young guys are getting run. So if Kuminga isn't, I don't think it's as much of a thing on Steve Kerr as maybe Kuminga's just not good enough right now. And maybe he would be better on a different team. Maybe he would be better on a different system. Who knows? I don't know. I feel like a lot of the blame, and Steve Kerr has had some questionable decisions over the last 18 months, 2 years. But like,
Yeah.
it's coming off of winning a title when they weren't supposed to in 2022. So you kind of get that grace period and what he's done.
Yep.
So I don't know. I find them interesting. We can kind of turn it into a little bit broader of a conversation if there's any other Western Conference teams you want to touch on before we move on. Like, it's just the West is going to be. We talked a little about the
Brutal.
Clippers. The Rockets have struggled, so like they've looked fine, but they just haven't won many games yet, right?
No, they've not looked fine. That is such a, you're just like whitewashing over the fact that they had a massive fumble of a lead. They couldn't figure out how.
I was trying to be
stop
nice,
Wemby.
okay? I was trying. Well, you know what the answer to shot.
They refuse to admit that like Fred VanVleet has been hot trash, and then Reed Shepherd isn't getting the same time that we all expected him to for a top 3 pick. But then when he is in the game, he's hesitating on his shots and he's passing up looks. So like, they have legitimate questions. Şengün, obviously, against the Spurs, and we'll see tonight is game 2 of that matchup. But like last year, he dominated Wemby, and it wasn't even close.
And this year,
he comes into Wemby, it just erased him out the game. Like, he was nowhere to be found. Instead, we ended up riding on Jalen Green, chucking to try to save their lives in the fourth quarter because no one else could take a shot for them. So, like, that is a team that is like chaos right now. I think that truly, I have not been happy with what I've seen, and I think that, I don't know if it's Ime Udoka, whoever they brought in to run the offense. Let me just put it that way. Whoever is running that offense is doing a very poor job at managing not only the rotations that are in the game, but also how they need to run said offense, because it just, everything feels off by a degree or two. And it's just, you can see it. It doesn't sit well. So I think that that's a team that needs more time to have things shake out, because they're in trouble where they should be that young, fun team. Now I'm seeing them stumble a little bit, and it's like the veteran guy on Fred VanVleet who's not carrying his weight.
Yeah, I've seen. I've watched a couple of their games now, and it's kind of a lot of the late game offense. It just turned into, here's the ball, JG4, make something happen, and sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. But there just seems to be no rhythm to their offense. Like we talked about the Lakers earlier, and you can clearly tell what their objectives are. I mean, Ime Udoka, and I loved him going into Boston. This Houston job was a little bit different, and the fact that they went out and they spent the money on Dylan Brooks, that was fine. But then they spent so much money on Fred VanVleet, but then you're kind of stuck, right? Because really they should be in a youth movement. Their youth guys, their young guys should be getting basically all of the run. Reed Shepherd should be playing 25, 30 minutes a night, figuring out the NBA. But you can tell when he's out there that if he gets, it's kind of, you talked about the Kuminga situation. If he makes a mistake or two, you're gone, you're out. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like, at least when I watch. Because when we saw him play in the preseason, he was loose. He was making shots. Even the summer league, he was clear head and shoulders above everybody that he played against. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I get it because Ime Udoka is definitely an old school coach. Old school defense earns you the offense, like that kind of stuff. But at some point, like, you need some type of offense coordinator. And again, I'm not privy to who that is if they did do that. If they did do that and they brought somebody in, I can't tell. I can't tell.
Also, can I just get a quick rant off about Jabari Smith Jr. somehow ghosting into the background and taking none of the blame?
He's like, been so bad.
He can't shoot all of a sudden. And how can you be that big and like have no inside game, but also the thing that got you to the NBA was the outside shot, and that also is now gone. So like, what are you doing for us? Anything. Like, even I just incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating, right? Because like I said about Kuminga, like he looks like a player who should be better. Jabari is like the prototypical guy who should be thriving in today's NBA. A large four who can shoot and can score at all three levels, but he's just like, and I don't know what it is, but it's just some of these players, like, they're just so hesitant to assert themselves in games. And I know, like, we've had this discussion about Patrick Williams before, right? Where like you're like, DeMar is taking his shots, blah blah blah. I'm like, yes, but if you are a good enough NBA player, you will find the shots within the offense, even if they aren't allotted to you. You will find the ball, find the space, and if you find the open space, they have passers on their team. Şengün will find you. All right, that's literally what Şengün does best. So like, outside of Amen, who had one pop-off game, and besides that has kind of been like, Şengün was great except for against Wemby, where he was just atrocious and he couldn't even play down the stretch. And then Jalen Green's out there because they have such limited shot creators. If Fred VanVleet's going to be, like you said, hot garbage this season. And again, it's 3 games, so it could easily turn around the next 3. But like, reacting to it now, I just like, their offense is going to struggle all year long, and I don't really know how they're going to turn around unless they're going to adjust rotations.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's going to be a long season. I'm just getting myself prepared for that. The only other team in the West that like highlight right now, and we kind of hit it a little, was the Nuggets struggles.
Yeah.
You said no excuses. This is a former championship team with a multiple time MVP on it. They doubled down and they paid Jamal Murray money. Aaron Gordon got money. Michael Porter Jr. had money already from last year. And this team, somehow the most consistent guy on the court is Christian Braun. Like,
so
what
crazy.
What do we do? The guy who was the only weakness supposedly on this starting lineup is the only guy bringing it every single night outside of Jokic.
Team, no, you know who we need to talk about? It's freaking Russell Westbrook and how awful he
that was atrocious.
Yeah,
that, if you watch the worst of the worst performances,
he shouldn't be in the NBA anymore. I think this is it. Like, he's been so bad. Like, usually, this is what we had the discussion, because Retro, shout out Retro, loves to do the thing when a player's on the Clippers of pointing out their positives, and then when they're gone, pointing out the negatives. He's going to listen to this later and DM me, and it's going to be great. But usually Russell Westbrook, he makes these dumb plays. He always did that. His entire career, he made dumb plays. But he could cover them up because he was so athletic and so much better than everybody else that he could make winning plays that way. Now that that's kind of stripped away and he's not head and shoulders above everybody else, the game has almost looked like it's sped up for him. And he looks like a young player playing right now, where he is just mistake after mistake after mistake after bad shot after bad shot after defensive assignment miss, all that. And I don't know. Listen, they were relying so heavily on him leading the bench unit and him being the positive in the Jokic off minutes that they're screwed.
Nope.
They're screwed. That's what it seems like. And they're going to be in the playoffs because that's what the Nuggets are going to do. But like right now, they're screwed if they come into a team that they don't match up well against.
Yeah, and even if they do match up well in theory, they still have no depth. So there's a chance that if you're not juicing all the minutes possible out of Jokic, like, you probably still won't win sometimes. So it's like, it's incredibly tough. And yeah, Russ, 0 of 8 and then 2 of 10 for his shooting performances. Like, we know he can't shoot, but like, why is he taking that many shots in the first place then? It just, questions lead to more questions. And you said it, as far as running the second unit, I was hoping to see something out of that, but instead it's just ugly. It's ugly basketball. I don't know. This is a team that year over year, like, I feel like I sort of like the picks that they make sometimes, but then things just don't work out. Or in retrospect, now it's like, wow, this is the team that passed up on Isaiah Hartenstein on the roster. They passed up on Jay Huff on their roster. They passed up on a lot of people who were on their roster technically. They were signed Denver Nuggets, and then they were like, nah, we don't really need that guy, and on like non-deals. So
Infuriating.
I'm looking at them going like, great, you've addressed your problems by passing up on some of the best like talent you could get for almost no value. And then the guys that they do have on the bench, like Dario is Dario. We know who he is. He's not going to win you anything. He could play a couple of minutes, but like he's not a championship caliber guy on the bench. Peyton Watson has not proved anything on the offensive side. Defensively, he's an all right stopper, but like our hopes and dreams are in Julian Strawther being the best shooter ever on the planet Earth, like basically, in order to keep this team in games. So I don't know. I don't know. Aaron Gordon can't shoot. I told you. And you're like,
but my whole point is okay, the regression of his shooting is definitely a little bit concerning. But the bigger regression is that MPJ has seen no improvement in his game in 3 years. Yeah. He's the same player he was 3 years ago, and Aaron Gordon shouldn't be this second option for this team or third option for this team. The guy who's coming into his prime, who's 26, should be the guy who's taking over that second role. But MPJ has shown no off the dribble creation. His defense is not great, and he's just like, and his shooting has even regressed a little bit. Like, he's the guy. He's the guy who's like, if they're gonna have to call an audible at the midseason, he's got to be the one who's going to be the one dealt, because Jamal Murray, for all of his inefficiencies, is still a fine player. He's not worth the money he got. Sure. We all knew that. We all knew he wasn't going to be worth the money he got. He peaked when they won the title. He was amazing for them in that playoff run, and that's what
a couple different series where he just took over the entire.
Exactly. The Western Conference Finals was him. He was 50, 40, 90, averaging 32 a game or something like that in the Western Conference Finals. Like, but he's not the guy. Like, the guy who should be overtaking that second role is MPJ, and he has done nothing to warrant that. So, talking about a team that would love an Andrew Wiggins that cares about basketball, the freaking Nuggets would love him. But I don't know where MPJ's going, because the Warriors, no, that would be another disaster. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the Nuggets go. They're going to start winning games just because, again, you have Nikola Jokic on your team. They're going to find ways to win games. But I do find a little bit of satisfaction that Jokic gets to go through this. I'm going to drop 40 and still lose because my supporting cast is a bunch of dum-dums right now. It's just, it's going to happen, and it brings me a little bit of joy. He's still a great player, all-time center. I just, a little bit of joy.
Sure.
Any final thoughts on the West? Any final thoughts on the Nuggets?
No, I mean, West are crazy. There's just a lot of teams in the air right now. Like Sacramento, I don't know what they're going to be. We've seen good and bad from them so far to start. The Grizzlies, honestly, have been a little disappointing for me.
Jay Huff
got the bag. Love it. Ja's not been the guy I kind of hoped he would be role-wise on the offense just yet. Seems like they're spreading the ball around more. Santi Aldama, though, has had a fantastic start to the season. So +1 for their dev team, player development team on that roster. Getting the most out of some guys who are all in on that. Pelicans, Zion got put down and
DeJounte's out for 6 weeks now, I think it is.
Yep. Yeah, for the hand. So
it's already starting.
That's tough. Props to Klingon, though, and the Blazers. I think that Jeremy Grant looked like Jeremy Grant again, reminded the league that he's still available if they want him. Great scoring performance, good defense. Like, he just kind of, he still got game.
And the Kings, even though the Kings are 0-2, I actually watched a couple of their games and they've been okay. They're going to find wins. Their offense is great. It's just a little bit too much of your turn, my turn right now. And they'll figure it out. Yeah, they'll figure it out as they go, though. They're going to win games strictly because Fox and Sabonis and DeMar are too good not to win games with those in the regular season, especially. That'll do it for our Western Conference conversation.
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.